Welcome back to the War Room. My name is Dillon Jewett. I'm joined today with Ayush Pierce and Pierce Allen. As always, you can find me on X at Dillon Jewett1. You can find Pierce at Two Biscuits, and you can find, you can find Ayush at Two Biscuits, and then you can find Pierce at Pierce E Allen on X. Today we have a little bit of a simpler segment, I guess. We're gonna discuss some of the more controversial questions going on this offseason in the NFL. And then after that, we're going to actually make our game picks for the playoffs. Let me fix my camera real quick. There we go. Um, and yeah, we'll go from there. We're about to enter the most important phase of the NFL season, obviously the playoffs. This is what it all comes down to. Wild card round is set to start on Saturday, uh, and we'll go from there. Me and Pierce, or me and Yush, have discussed in the past who we have as our favorites. I said Lions over Chiefs. What was yours? Yush, it was Packers
Packers
and
over
Ravens, right?
Ravens, I think. Yeah.
So Packers and Ravens. Uh, Pierce, really quick, actually, while we're on that, who do you have really quick? Who is your team that you think is going to go all the way?
Well, I mean, this entire season, it's been how are the Chiefs, getting away with all these close wins and stuff. It's honestly, I'm watching quite a bit of them, and it's kind of insane on how they just find a way to win. But I mean, does that run out in the playoffs when they run into possibly the Bills or the Ravens or and on the other side, the flip side, I don't see anybody beating Detroit. Um, After what I watched against Minnesota on Sunday night, it wasn't it wasn't close. I don't see anybody beating the Lions. They're getting healthy at the right time. And I've heard that there could be a possibility that you could see Knuckles back in the backfield with Jameer Gibbs. So that's that's it's kind of
It's not that exciting.
that's a huge boost for the Lions if they can get David Montgomery back. But coming out of the AFC, I, I mean, I want to go with my gut again. I want to see a three-peat, but I mean, unless they change something or something happens, like Mahomes goes down with an ankle. But then again, we've seen that happen. But I could see either the Bills or the Chiefs going to the Super Bowl this year, and the Lions being on the opposite end.
Gotcha. So you got like Lions over Chiefs. It sounds like.
I mean, you never know. But as of right now, that's how I have as a Super Bowl matchup. But I don't
Gotcha.
know who goes over in the Super Bowl because you don't know what the
Gotcha.
heck happens there.
Okay. So yeah, we both have Lions and Chiefs in the Super Bowl, and then Ayush has the more eccentric pick in the Packers Ravens. So,
Eccentric doesn't mean wrong.
yeah, it doesn't mean wrong,
Doesn't
but
mean wrong, but
it is out there. I'll say
yeah,
that.
Lamar's got him at choke.
Particularly because of the Packers. I don't think I said in the past. I think it's Packers, Lions, uh,
Hey,
Eagles as like the top teams, like the teams that really have a chance in the NFC. I think
Please.
I'm starting to put I was starting to put the Vikings up in there until they got just slapped in the face
Well, yeah,
uh,
but
by the Lions on I think Sunday Night Football, if I recall.
I don't see the Eagles going far either. Like they still got
Yeah,
Jalen Hurts on the
I
concussion
think
protocol.
I think Eagles. I still think Eagles, Packers, and Lions are the teams that really have a chance. I think the Commanders, Bucks and
Rams.
Commanders are Rams are kind of just there to have fun, but the
More
other
long
teams
shot.
are yeah, exactly. Okay, anyways, uh yeah, so we have a list of 5 questions here that we're going to go ahead and discuss um kind of thought-provoking questions that are definitely some that people are here or there on. Some more than others, but we're gonna kickstart this with which one are we gonna do? Let's do one that's maybe a little bit less controversial. Well, it's controversial, but a little bit less thought provoking. Let's start with. Okay, so the Patriots fired Gerard Mayo yesterday. Or was it today? I don't know. I think it was
Yesterday.
Yesterday.
Who got fired today? Pierce. Pierce got fired
Pierce.
today. Antonio Pierce.
Not
Yeah,
me,
Pierce, he got fired.
Antonio Pierce.
Yeah. You suck, bro.
Hey, I didn't know I
Come on,
sucked
man.
that bad. I'm 22 years old. Who knew I could coach a team?
That would actually be, even if you did get fired, that would be quite the accomplishment to be coaching a team at 22.
Yeah, coaching dudes that are almost a decade older than me.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you would have to have a pretty old team to have guys a decade older than you on your team.
Well,
bro.
okay,
if you're
close
coaching
to.
a team full of
Close to.
32-year-olds, then you have a problem.
Close
You
to.
were never set up for success.
Close to.
Okay.
Close to.
Okay. So Gerard Mayo got fired from the Patriots. Patriots. Bad internet.
You're still here.
You're here.
Am I still there?
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're still here.
I'm like
You're
off and on right now. Okay. My screen is not showing that. So yeah, just if it does go out, Ayush, I'm passing the baton to you, which could happen.
I'm locked in. I'm ready.
Okay, so the Patriots got.
That's crazy.
That is crazy.
I guess I'm ready. So yep, Patriots got rid of Gerard Mayo after a year. Or now he's on here twice. Oh my goodness. Are there?
Bro.
You with us? You with us, Dillon?
I love Xfinity internet, bro. This rocks, man. I have the best internet ever, by the way, to all of those listening. I guess in Xfinity's defense, there was like a massive snowstorm. I'm in Denver, so but still, this sucks. Anyways, okay, so yeah, Gerard Mayo. I'll say this quick before I leave again abruptly. Do the Irish goodbye. Gerard Mayo got fired. Patriots lost the number 1 overall pick because Joe Milton turned into Superman. And they're now picking 4th, if I'm not mistaken, which is a crazy drop off in 1 week. Anyways, do y'all think the Patriots handled that correctly, getting rid of Gerard Mayo 1 year despite lack of resources in terms of talent? Secondly, what kind of, I guess, what angle would you have taken with the Patriots? And I guess an extension of that is, where do you think they're headed? What do you think they should do in order to kind of get into a degree of some competence? Because we know they have the quarterback down. Drake May had a pretty, not some sort of elite flashy rookie year, but he did show a lot of flashes of upside, which is what was expected for him coming out of North Carolina as a 3rd overall pick, et cetera, et cetera. But they still ended up being a very incompetent team this season, a team that was a pushover, easy to take down. So if you are the New England Patriots, what are you doing to, or do you think they did it right, or what are you doing to handle this from here on out as they go into another chapter post Bill Belichick, post Brady? Yeah, fire away.
Well, the first thing I want to say is I don't think they handled it right because it's still a fairly young team. Like they're still, I still think they're still rolling from Tom Brady leaving back in 2019. They've still been searching on who their guy is at quarterback, who their head coach is going to be, because Belichick left the next year, or I think it was that year. They let him walk, and he's been, analyst, and he's the head coach at North Carolina. But yeah, I feel like they didn't handle it right by firing him first because uh, personally I think they should have given him at least another year worth of just like, okay, you had your year with a rookie quarterback. We'll give you the resources. We'll go attack free agency, get a draft pick that'll help Drake May, hopefully, or help that team in general. But the way they did it, I feel like was a really a really poor decision. But then again, like they're not used to firing and then having to go on a coaching hunt, actually, because all their coaches have come from the tree of Bill Belichick. Now they actually have to go get a quarterback or get a head coach, interview an actual head coach to come in and see if he fits the mold of what Robert Kraft and the ownership wants for their team in the future. And a guy that I think that they're probably going to go for is another Bill Belichick, you know, uh, coordinator or a guy that's in the line of coaching under Bill Belichick. I think they're going to go after Mike Vrabel. Uh, they've already there's already been talks of a possible reunion between the Patriots and Mike Vrabel. He's been out of coaching for a couple of years now, and yeah, I mean that's what I have to say about it because I feel like you really can't judge a coach off of 1 year when the team isn't good. Like the team's already pretty, skin and bones right now. Like it's not really like an actual team when you just have a rookie quarterback. You've got, inexperienced. You don't have that much weapons around that rookie quarterback. Like there's no reason I feel like to fire a head coach unless there's something inside the organization that didn't like anything about Mayo.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting for sure because I don't know if Mayo should have been the head coach in the first place. Um, I mean, obviously, he didn't really get a good chance to show his skill set, show his ability. But I mean, he's going from I think it was just a linebackers coach beforehand for the Patriots, all the way up straight up to a head coaching position. So it's a big jump, first of all. But I know it was like in his contract or whatever to become the next head coach, blah blah blah. But um, I think it was just kind of set up for failure from the get-go. I mean, the roster is obviously not there, especially offensively. Um, I think they were like maybe bottom two in the league in offense, bottom 10 in the league in defense. But I mean, when you have better options out there in the market, I think you just gotta take that chance to get a better option. I mean, Vrabel, I think, is a clear upgrade. Robert Saleh, I think it would be a clear upgrade. Ben Johnson's obviously available. I don't think Ben Johnson wants to go to New England, but he is an option, I guess. I think, like Pierce said, Vrabel is probably going to end up being the guy. Uh, Maintains that kind of Belichick culture and Belichick scheme to some degree, and we've seen Vrabel kind of uh, elevate these mediocre rosters to be better than expected in Tennessee. So um, I think it's for the best, honestly, to go this way and get a new fresh start. Um, Hopefully it doesn't hinder like Drake May's um, uh, progression in terms of having to learn an entire. I don't think they're getting rid of their offensive coordinator. I think it's Van Pelt or whatever his name is. I don't think they got rid of him from what I can remember. So it should be more consistent there for the offense. And I think it's just more of a culture thing that Vrabel can bring in, and some expertise as well. And I think just having him in that or on that Patriots team just gives them a slightly better boost than Mayo would have. And I think even though that they lost that last game, picking up four isn't that big of a drop. I mean, obviously lose out on Travis Hunter, which is probably who they would have taken at one, but that next tier of players, I think they have a good selection, especially since I think both the teams above them will be taking quarterback, so they'll still have whoever their second pick would have been outside of Travis Hunter, which I don't think is the biggest loss in the world. But overall, I
I
mean,
do. That's a big loss, dude.
that's understandable.
He's insane.
But I mean, I mean, they'll probably go it'll probably be too early to go any other wide receiver.
No, there's
Uh,
Tech McMillan. He's
Ted
fifth on the
at
board.
four, I feel like it's a little rich, but
I
I
don't know, dude. He's like he's consensus a top 7 player on people's boards.
really
So maybe you could,
interesting.
if you feel confident enough. I'm not looking at the draft order, and I don't have enough brain power to like comprehend it. But if you feel confident enough that he could be there a couple picks later, you maybe could be like, yeah, send me over your 3rd round pick and like a late day 3 pick, and you could move back a couple spots and get Ted.
I mean, yeah. I mean, you know a ton
Maybe a
more than
good
I
fit
do.
for
I
him.
mean, my kind of viewpoint on like scouting and stuff is like just how their name sounds. I think McMillan would be good. Because his name sounds like he'd be a good receiver, but he doesn't sound like a receiver that would be worth the 4th pick. With the 4th pick, the Patriots draft
Yeah.
Tetra or whatever, McMillan, you know. But
I will say really quick, I want to say on that. I've mentioned this before to like you and Alec. If you like look down these boards, these players coming in, especially quarterback, like they always have or very often have a cool name. I think that there's a running theme here. I feel like that connects with their confidence, and that's why they like Luther Burden. This dude was born to be a like superstar.
yeah,
Like
Yeah,
that's
he's
Emeka Egbuka, Alec Aomanor. These are Sevion Williams. These are cool. I'm
that's
just looking
true.
at my wide receiver board right now. It's on my screen to my right, so that's why I'm only talking wide receivers. But like they always have or very often have a cool name. Like there's very few people
That's why you
named
don't
like
draft like Kelvin Benjamin. You don't draft him.
yeah. There's very few people
Like
named like George. Sorry, no disrespect to people named George. There's George Pickens, but like
he's
the
mid.
kind of more bland, cut and dry names. Like
Yeah,
in the NFL, if you go down these lists, they're going to be named something like cool,
yeah.
CD Lamb, come on, my goat. But
I
all
think
right,
the only
anyways,
one,
go ahead.
Mike Evans is probably the only one that kind of breaks that mold off
I don't
first
know.
rip.
I feel like that's still like a
I feel like he's
decent
like built
name.
that name. He has like he's built the name to
I
sound
don't
better
know
than it
though,
he's
is.
made
but
a name for
like
himself.
Michael Jordan, like I don't know. I feel
That's
like that
like
was
Michael
like
Jordan would not be a big name if he wasn't like if you wipe out all basketball knowledge you have and you saw Michael Jordan on a LinkedIn profile, that would just seem like a normal guy. But if
yeah.
you
Mark.
saw like CD Lamb on a LinkedIn profile, they'll be like, oh, this guy has aura.
I will say with the name Michael though, there's a lot of like since it's like probably the most that and like John are like the most common names in America. So I think it does have like a lot wider ground to help uplift that name because there's a lot of people that can be named Michael or like John, and because of that, there's a wider variety of people that are good with that name. Does that
That's
make sense?
true.
I don't know how to
That's true.
further explain that, but
No, I got you.
uh, for some reason though, I can't
But
think of
then,
anyone like off of
but
with
then
those names.
you can think
I
about
don't
like
know.
Jalen and like all the Jalen's in the
Jalen,
NBA
yeah,
right now and all that and how that's because Jalen
yeah,
Rose was like the first one and literally
yeah,
almost every Jalen in existence is a good NBA player now.
I
yeah,
mean,
yeah.
not
There's
all of them.
Majority of
yeah,
them.
Majority of them.
majority. Um, okay, all right. Anyways, are you done with your point, Ayush? If
Yeah,
so,
I
I'm
think
gonna
I
okay.
covered everything. Yeah.
All right, I'll go on to what I'm gonna say. I totally agree with Mike Vrabel. I think Mike Vrabel was like there's the one of the problems with like for the Cowboys, for instance, who just declined the Bears
Yeah, I just saw that.
they declined denied them permission to interview McCarthy. So that tells me they're gonna keep him. Probably. But um if Dallas let go of McCarthy, the one guy really, and maybe Vrabel, but the the problem with it is now who can you get that's better? Like who's a better fit? And is that person going to be how long is that person going to take to be good? And now I've said it before that I'm on team go get Ben Johnson or Vrabel or someone like that. But now if you go to any of these other teams, it's kind of like who can I get that's better? There's not always a good answer for that. That's always the second end of this head coach hunt. It's okay, am I gonna have this guy just go look for another guy a couple years later or what? With the Patriots, I almost wonder if there's. I think the Vrabel connection is so perfect. I almost wonder with Mayo, were they looking at him and were they like, we really think we're going to get Vrabel, so let's get this guy out of here. That's kind of what I'm thinking with the Patriots is maybe they're just like, we're going to get Vrabel either way. We're going to figure out how to make this happen. Obviously, there's a team connection. There's just a culture fit. I think Vrabel's such an elite culture fit for them. Um, I think that you're about to have the ability to have similar personnel to what he had in uh, Tennessee. You can go get this draft class is so loaded with running backs too. So if you want to go get a running mate for Ramondre Stevenson, kind of have that same type of running game that you had in Tennessee with Derrick Henry, or adjacent to it, it's kind of hard to replicate that. But you can go get the personnel to help match what he had in Tennessee plus some potentially, because you have a ton of cap space. This is a team that has all the flexibility in the world. It's not like they have any superstar players that are just like, we can't move on from this player. There's only a couple players on this team that are kind of just immovable, and that's probably Christian Gonzalez, Drake May, and I can't even think of that many more. Honestly,
Ramondre Stevenson, or do you think that
I don't
he's
think Ramondre. I think
expendable?
Ramondre is very movable, and honestly, I think
Good to
he
know.
might be on a contract a year. I don't know. I think he has one more, actually, probably one more year. But there's not a lot of guys on this team that are like, you can't move away from them. So you're able to get the team that Vrabel needs and wants. You have so much flexibility with this team. So I'm kind of thinking maybe with Mayo, it wasn't really exactly Mayo did something wrong. Obviously, he didn't have a good year this year, but he didn't have he didn't have the ability, the capacity to with what he had. I wonder if they were like, the season's ending. They're like, okay, Mayo's been good. He's not exactly what we want. So in a typical situation where the team would hang on to that coach, I think the Patriots were like, dude, we have the guy. Like, he's right there, and I think we're gonna get first bid at him. And and that's Vrabel. So that's my thinking on that. Is they were just so dead set on Vrabel is so perfect for us that we're gonna look past anything that Mayo did or didn't do this year, and just go straight towards that. Um, okay, so second on, let's see, what's the next talking point here that I've written down? Let's talk about Tyreek Hill. Um, Tyreek Hill made it very abundantly clear this weekend that he was done playing for the Miami Dolphins and he wants to go somewhere else. He said, I think, quote, "I'm out," in reference to the Dolphins. So he's done
I'm
with the
out, bro.
Dolphins. I'm out, bro.
Yeah.
Worth noting, I don't know how relevant this is, but he did say once upon a time, I think he was still with the Chiefs. I think he was like 27, 28 at the time. Now he's 31 or 32. He did say he was going to retire by the time or at the age of 30. So that's past. But I will say that he has shown in the past that he's interested in not playing till he's 40 years old. Uh, so he is interested in, or potentially interested in, retiring in some point in the near future. So he may be going to a team for 1 or 2 years and then be done. So that's worth noting in this conversation, just kind of putting that little asterisk in it. But I'm going to leave this broad regarding Tyreek. Uh, what is your vision for him? What do you think that he is going to be doing next? What is his next step? Uh, I guess it's probably important to see how many years does he have left on his Dolphins contract? Is it 2?
Let me check.
Tyreek
What if you
Hill
got spot
contract.
check? Got spot check
Said
pull
it
up
was a
right now.
3-year deal. He's got 2 more years, and the last. So that was the 1 year. That was the first year of that contract.
Yeah, I just signed an
That's
Right.
extension this offseason.
oh
Well,
my
he signed the
gosh,
extension.
this guy.
So
Uh,
he's
he's
got
got a
two more
void.
years.
Yeah, he has till 2028, and he has a void before 2028 is what his contract is. So I don't know how they're going to deal with that in terms of the cap space situation, because you move on from him,
He
you're immediately getting 16 million in dead cap this year.
Oh God.
Oh, hold on. I'm looking at the wrong year.
and those he can leave after next year and have
It,
they'll have 16 left in dead cap.
this year would be 57 million in dead cap.
Yeah,
Yikes.
Oh, dude. That is brutal. That's brutal. They
57 million in dead cap is what you just
57
said?
million in dead cap.
Jesus.
That's a fourth of your cap salary next year gone
Uh-huh.
for a player
You
that's
sure
not going to
you-
be there.
You just gonna label him a healthy scratch and keep him, or are you gonna and take fines, or are you gonna
Oh,
actually,
you
take
can't.
that
That would be
pill?
more than a fine though to be doing that the whole year. That would be
True.
people getting the NFL forcing people out. So
True.
I don't know how you handle that. Honestly, I almost wonder if that eliminates anything, like kind of omits any tangible, quantifiable aspect to what we're going to be talking about with Tyreek, because 57 million is like, you can't move that for a wide receiver. If it's a quarterback, we've seen that in the past, but those are still very, very rare. But for a wide receiver, killing $57 million at wide receiver is insane. That's nuts. That's two CD Lamb. No, not two, but more than one CD Lamb contract. What it was CD? CD was 30, 40?
30 something. Yeah,
His was like 30 a year. It
30
was right
years. So
underneath
that's two. Yeah, that's
JS.
two of what CD had. You're paying two CD Lambs for having zero CD Lambs. That's insane. So I don't know how that's gonna. I don't know how they're gonna deal with that, because what I was about to get at before I knew that is, where do you think he's gonna go? Do you think he could just retire? Do you think this or that? But honestly, and I'm not exactly sure on this, but I think that if you got rid of, or if Tyreek retired, then that would be the best financial situation, because I think a lot of his contract goes away. But he's not going to retire and be like, oh yeah, don't pay me any of this money that you owe me, because they've only paid him, as of this year, they paid him uh like 20 million of his extension contract. So
That's
and they have an out at the end of next year, but you'd still take on $16 million in cap, which is pretty big hit, but better than nothing. Uh, Man, I don't even
I
know how to
think if
handle
you
it.
trade him, well, according to Spot Track, if you trade him, I think it's
I think you still take
28
on the
mil in
cap
dead.
hit.
According to
Yeah,
Spot
well,
Track, I
that's a
think
cap
it's
hit though. But so that's
dead
the
in
cap.
dead cap.
Are you sure? Because what I'm looking at right now, it's
Because
cap hit, and then the dead cap is 57. I think if you trade him, you still
it's
take on the
saying
majority of that dead cap.
release dead cap hit is 57, and then dead cap hit for a trade would be 28,297.
Really? Let's
According
see.
to this, yeah.
Okay. Well, here's what GBT says. They say that you do not take on the full player's cap hit. Yada yada yada. You take on, if you waited till post June 1 to do the trade, then you can get the 2026 numbers. Hang on. I don't
Which is
know.
probably what they do.
Yeah, that would have to be what they would do. They would have to wait for post June 1 to be able to do anything with Tyreek Hill. And I'm not exactly sure how that works, because
I mean, 20,
I don't think I remember a post June 1 trade that had anything to do with picks in recent history. I wonder how that works. Am I tripping? Because if they, let's say a team was like, okay, yeah, we'll take on Tyreek Hill's contract. Obviously, you're not going to take on the full dead cap, because a portion of that is immovable. You trade them Tyreek, you get back like a fourth round pick, because that's all you'd be getting at this point, if anything. You get a 4th-round pick. Does that 4th-round pick, like, are you able to take that 4th-round pick and make, like, for 2025 draft before that June 1 and that trade processes? Or is it like the team has to make a commitment, the other team has to make a commitment to you, and then they draft the player for you, and then you
Or
go
you
from
trade
there?
the player.
Yeah, and
That's
then the
interesting. Yeah.
trade falls through. I can't think of those types of trades in recent memory.
Yeah.
But this could fall into that category. So I guess we'll figure that out sometime in the future. But honestly, I'm just gonna kind of, I don't know. I don't think there's really any reason having a conversation because none of it's gonna mean anything because the
It's
long
hard to
story
move him.
short, if the Dolphins move him, it would have to be post June 1. I cannot imagine them being like, yeah, we'll take the 60 million. That's nuts. And I don't even know. Yeah, I'm too many numbers here. It's too many numbers. All right, we're let's put that on the back burner. Let's talk about another interesting cap situation. Deshaun Watson. This one's pivotal for the Cleveland Browns franchise because uh obviously Deshaun Watson has the gigantic contract. They traded away, they moved heaven and earth to be able to go get him from Houston. Obviously, there's all the controversy about him because of the off the field stuff, the suspension, et cetera, et cetera. That he already served the suspension. Um, Now, he's suffered a number of season-ending injuries. When he's been on the field, no bueno. Like no bueno, no bueno. Not some bad games. It's been just in general horrible on the field. Um, and honestly, your backup was probably better this year, Jameis Winston. Um, and you're locked into Deshaun Watson, I think, for another 3 to 4 years. Uh, they did do a restructure of his contract, which basically pushed back a couple of those, you know, a little bit of that money for the last 2 years of his contract, I think, if I recall correctly. So the Browns are in it's a bad financial situation. I've mentioned it before on this podcast. I think your saving grace is a rookie quarterback because like a rookie quarterback that you hit on and has like a Jaden Daniels type rookie season where they get that very little. You're not paying your quarterback anything or very minimal. You're paying them on that rookie contract deal, and that makes up for what you're spending on Deshaun Watson. But ultimately, Deshaun Watson's a big ticket type of player. News came out the other day that now his season-ending injury from this year is probably going to bleed into a large portion of next year because of a big setback with his rehab. Uh, I'll voice my opinion on it here in a minute after y'all speak. But what do y'all? How are y'all handling moving Deshaun Watson, or are you just saying, okay, we're going to keep you in the house. We'll pay you all this money, and you can be our backup, or are you, I guess, saying, yeah, you can be our starter when you're healthy, like next year? I don't know what angle are y'all taking there if you are who's it? Who's their GM? Is it Joe Barry, right? Something like that.
Joe
Uh,
Barry's not.
am I tripping?
It's Andrew Barry.
Andrew Barry, that's it. That was
Yeah.
close.
Joe Barry was the
It's
Packers
one of the
defensive coordinator.
berries: strawberry,
Yeah.
blueberry, whatever. Joe Barry, Andrew Barry. Uh, okay, so what angle are y'all taking with the Cleveland Browns regarding Deshaun Watson? Yeah, go ahead.
Well, his contract, correct me if I'm wrong, his contract is still fully guaranteed, right? Even though they restructured his deal, it's still fully guaranteed as long as he's
Yeah, they
on the
just move it
roster.
around to like bonus and base salaries.
Yeah, you can
It's
restructure. You can
magic with that.
restructure some of that and make that a little bit nicer, which they've already done a little bit of.
Incentive based, possibly. Like if you actually play a couple of more games, you get this.
I don't
Okay,
know
like
if you
hey,
can turn it into incentives. I think you can just move it
see
from
from year to year.
yeah, from your basically your signing or your bonus your guaranteed
And your
money
base
into base
salary,
salary and all that type of stuff. I
Okay.
think you can just roll over guaranteed into base and yeah, and I think they
Okay.
already did a little bit of that.
Okay. So, but yeah, it's really been a mixed bag for me because prior to all of his injuries and before he got traded to Houston, he was pretty darn good. Like I enjoyed watching him play in Houston. You know, those days of him and DeAndre Hopkins, and just blowing people away with how they played. But now it's almost like I don't want to say the money's gotten to his head because like he just can't keep himself healthy. Like I don't understand. Um, I mean, if I'm Cleveland, maybe you look for like maybe you just show it, be like, hey, we got a guy here. Like, if you want, you can. We'll trade you him. We'll take a fourth or fifth rounder for him or a couple picks, and you can cut him or whatever you want because we don't want to deal with this anymore. Because I think a lot of Cleveland Brown fans are getting to that as well. Like he's played like absolute crap when he is on the field, and uh, yeah, I'm a mixed bag. I don't know. Like I really don't know what Cleveland's going to do with Deshaun Watson because he's a shell of his former self.
I mean, he's cooked, bro. I mean, I think you have to. I mean, you're stuck with him. There's no way you're moving off of that contract. You're stuck with him. But you're gonna have to do what you can to continue to stay competitive, even um, with that contract on your roster. And I think the way to do that is to take a quarterback, maybe in this draft, um, and
Yeah, because
try
they have
to
the number two
go
pick.
from there. Because his contract expires in 27, so you can get 2 years, 3 years off that rookie deal and still have a year after that, um, which that after 27, that would really allow you to really build around that rookie quarterback potentially in that season. Now, I think you don't take a quarterback round one because, I mean, they have the second pick. You could go, or what is it, second, third pick, something like that. You could go Cam Ward, you could go Shador. Um, but I think you could potentially, I don't know if this is the best idea. This is, I think, a idea of where you could try to build everything else at first in the early couple rounds of the draft, and then maybe take a Will Howard, a Dillon Gabriel in the third round, a fourth round. These late day two or early day three guys that to me I feel like could transition well enough to game manage at least
Yeah.
in their early career. Even a Kyle McCord. Is Kyle McCord declaring or is he staying? I feel like he would declare,
He's
right?
so he already accepted a Shrine Bowl invite. He is out of eligibility, but he did submit a waiver to be able to see if he could get an extra year of eligibility, which
Interesting.
only further ignited a large controversy on the eligibility topic. But yeah,
Interesting.
he's still up in the air, but I think he's going to end up declaring.
I think he should. He had a great year this past year. But
Yeah,
yeah,
and
well, like
it's a thin class too, so he could get he could be a backup next year. So
yeah, like, I feel like getting one of these maybe older but proven quarterbacks at the college level, because Dylan Gabriel is probably a late second rounder, early third rounder, maybe. Uh,
it
Will
he's
Howard's
gotten
maybe
some he's gotten some like he's gotten a lot of attention lately. I think it's about to die out a little bit though. I think he's gonna end up being probably like a fourth round guy, Gabriel, but he might get a little bit of a premium just
interesting.
because he is in the weakest
Heisman
class since
finalist and all
Kenny
that.
Pickett. Yeah, and he was a Heisman finalist, but still, Max Duggan was a sixth round
That's
pick, I
true.
think, and he was a finalist.
Yeah, but I feel like if you can maybe lean toward those guys, maybe trade out of the second pick, get more picks, and just
Yeah,
build the roster uh, outside of the quarterback position where you can hopefully, once that Watson contract expires, have a rookie quarterback that can do their thing or plug in a really high level quarterback that can just flourish around a well-built roster. But I mean, it's just going to have to be a lot of roster building at this point. You're not going to be able to. You could probably restructure so many more times to just kind of push money back or push money around to make things work. Maybe Watson will be willing to take a reworked contract in its entirety to potentially get some money back as well. I don't think that's going to happen, but um, I think that's the way you have to go. And then I think this is probably the year that you take a just a late round flyer on a quarterback and hope he's maybe like a Brock Purdy-esque type of pick, um, and go from there. Because Watson, even if he does come back, the injuries have just obviously taken a toll. He's not going to get back to his former self. Um, I mean, you have a good coach. Stefanski has done so much with so little already. Your Bucks counting down for Myles Garrett. Nick Chubb, his time might already be up. Um, Batonio, I think, is their other old guy. His time is probably close to up as well. Um, I'm just trying to think of who they have on the roster right now. Um, Denzel Ward is a guy that you don't want to waste his potential and capabilities. So I mean, it's time's already ticking, um, and either you need to move those kind of high potential pieces that you have, like a Denzel Ward for something, or you just have to really lean on this draft and free agency to kind of get a bunch of core quality guys that aren't really super high end guys and just build from there.
Yeah. Andrew Berry, GM of the Browns. Here's my message to you. Get ready to learn Chinese, brother. You're not gonna have your job in a couple years. I'm sorry. This is such a bad situation to be in as a GM, but also you kind of dug your own hole doing it because he he's the one that engineered the Deshaun Watson trade. Uh, he started all this madness. And on your point about drafting a quarterback, Ayush, you said this is the year to get a late round flyer. I agree and I disagree. My disagreement is this is not the only year. If I'm the Browns, regardless if I'm Andrew Berry or if they bring in a new GM or something, I don't know if they made any announcement on if they're going to bring him back or not. But
I think he's locked
if
in for a while.
is he?
I think
Well,
so.
regardless if it's him or someone else, I'm drafting a quarterback every year for the next 4 years, probably every single year. And that
Interesting.
doesn't mean it needs to be a first or second round guy. I'm saying every year, some point between the third and seventh round, I am going to get a quarterback because I the whoever is the next franchise quarterback of this team needs to be like Mahomes, Josh Allen level for this team to be able to be saved. You are like this overall franchise is in danger right now. So if I'm them, I am building up my I'm hang on. Okay, sorry. Yeah, I'm building up my roster right now. I'm going all in on filling out the weaknesses of this team because there are a lot of them. You have a number of good players on this team. This is not a team that on paper you're like, oh, this team is trash. You have a number of good players. This is not a team. This is a team that should be maybe a little bit worse than the Cowboys. Like this is a team that should be a seventh seed in the playoffs, just like they were last. Like they should be what they were last year. Should be what this team should be long term. Stefanski's a great coach too. Stefanski is one of the best coaches in the NFL right now. He's top 10, and this is not anything to do with him. Uh, this overall team is just a mess because of the miss on the Deshaun Watson trade, and I think we're now learning because of the Aaron Rodgers trade, because of the Russell Wilson to the Broncos trade. Feel like I'm. Is there another big one in there other than Watson and those three? I feel like there was one other big trade that happened recently. Well, Yeah, I can't think of it exactly, but there's a couple of these trades in recent memory that were these blockbuster type trades like this. Oh, I guess there was a
I mean, you got Derek
Alex
Carr.
Smith. Who?
I mean, I know Derek Carr wasn't traded to New Orleans, but he signed with New Orleans, and people thought that would be an upgrade.
Alex Smith was one that, but he was also because of injury. Um,
Sure.
I thought
but
Alex
these
Smith was cheap.
was he?
No?
I feel like he got there was a couple picks in there, and it was a big contract. But y'all feel my drift here. There,
Yeah.
these big time monster quarterback deals. They're about to kind of go out of business probably because people have just got to realize and what happens every single time. These guys, people are getting fired because of these jobs consistently. It's not just fans are upset because you just spent a lot of money on a quarterback that ends up not being good for them. These teams just get screwed over. People get fired. It's bad business practice. It's bad for the fans. It's bad for the team. It's bad for the future of the team. So yeah, with this Deshaun Watson situation, I wonder if Andrew Berry, if they're just going to keep Andrew Berry in here, like, hey man, we'll play out your contract. I don't know when it expires, but it started in 2020. I think he got an extension at one point in time. Oh, before the season too. So
Yeah.
that sucks. I don't know how long that was, so it's probably 3-4 year extension. Um, and maybe you play out till the last year of that contract or the full time through. But the sad reality for him is unless you get the most home run type of pick on a quarterback, because you're not going to go spend a lot of money on a quarterback. And there's not really many people that spend a lot of money on a quarterback this year either. And you don't have the money. So, uh, what you're betting on is that in the next couple of years, you go draft a quarterback and they end up being really damn good. So, I think um, next year's the year that you start really looking at your franchise QB, and probably the following year. If I'm them, I'm all in on the Arch Manning sweepstakes. I'm all in on that because, like I said, you need a Josh Allen, Mahomes type of quarterback very quickly. So I'm all in on Arch Manning this year. What I'm doing, I'm spending or not spending. Spending. I'm spending all my draft capital on improving this. One of those picks is going to be a quarterback third, fourth, fifth round. Probably considering their quarterback situation this year, I would probably spend a third or fourth on it. Uh, Especially since that's probably a good hot spot for the guys like you mentioned, Will Howard, Dylan Gabriel, Beck might be a guy in there, Riley Leonard, Jackson Dart. Those are a couple guys that could be in that range. Um, and and then I'm just spending all the rest of my draft capital on getting this defense as sound and bulletproof as I can. I'm making this offense ready for a quarterback. I'm making this offense so that we can get Arch Manning, whoever it is at quarterback, as ready as I can so that they can hopefully from year one get us to fringe playoff territory, get us to a 10-7 type of team, 9-8 type of team early on. And then 3 years from now is when I'm actually looking at being a team that could start to make a deep run or anything like that. That's best case scenario too. This team is honestly, this might be the biggest hole to climb out of any team has had in NFL history. This is bad, dangerous territory. I can't think of anything that trumps this. Like, I mean, the Seahawks had a really great rebound. I mean, it's not great because you've been kind of a 9-8, 10-7 type team. But they had a really great rebound coming off of Russell Wilson with Geno. They hit a home run with Geno Smith being a very competent quarterback. Uh, um, Broncos were very good this year, but especially in recent memory, there has not been anyone that has been, or any team that has been in a deeper hole than this, because you didn't have any sort of competence. At least for like the Seahawks, Russell Wilson had last year. He was fairly decent. He was a decent quarterback. So, uh, So yeah, this is dangerous territory. But yeah, we'll see where that goes. Okay, and last question, then we gotta fire off our game picks for the playoffs, and then we'll go. Um, Mike Evans. A lot of people view him as a first ballot Hall of Famer. Was it now 11 years straight of
Yep.
man, 11 years of 1,000 yards. I remember when he was drafted, dude. I
That was
remember
11 years
when
ago.
hearing
He had
him.
1,000 yards since his senior year of
Yeah,
high school, I think.
yeah,
He's been
and
a stud.
yeah, I remember when he was drafted, coming out of A&M and all the hype around him, and dude, this guy's a warrior. But I mean, also having to deal with I mean, Johnny Manziel, Johnny Football, and all that. So, okay, and I know both of y'all are A&M fans, so um, I'll hang on. I'll start off, and I'm going to pass it off to y'all. So I think that so I've had these types of conversations in the past. So someone like Frank Gore, there's a couple other names that come to mind where it's like when can we pinpoint where this player was a top 5 player at their position in the NFL? And I think that's an important part of these conversations is how can we, you know, how can we justify a player going into the Hall of Fame first ballot um, if they haven't been that for, at least a couple years in their career? I think there was one year where Mike Evans was that guy. I want to say third or fourth year of his career. Hang on, let me pull it up because he had 1,600 yards or something like that one year.
Like
And
the Jameis year, some of the Jameis years.
it probably was 2018. Yep, that would have been a Jameis year, because Jameis came there in 2017, I think. So
Jameis got drafted in like 2015.
2015.
Yeah, he
So
was his
yeah, Jameis was 2015. So that would have been year 3. Would that?
yeah, James.
What was the 20 or the 30-30 year?
That might have been his second or third season.
Let me see. Hang on. I'm about to have it pulled up. 30-30 year was
Oh yeah.
2019. How did Mike do
Yeah.
that?
Oh dang.
Well, Mike, he had a pretty good year that year too. He just missed 3 games and he still had about 1,200 yards that year and 8 touchdowns. So that's pretty good. But during those 2 seasons were probably the years where he kind of peaked. Uh, since then, a very good player, routinely top 10, top 15 at his position. Um, so my angle on this is probably going to be a second year. I don't think he's going to be a first ballot at as it stands right now. I'm giving him a Hall of Fame. I'm giving him a trip to the Hall of Fame second year of his eligibility. But I do think that he can maybe 2 more years of 1,000-yard seasons. Maybe I'm shifting my viewpoint to first ballot, but not like the top dog type of guy. I'm kind of looking down the list and maybe, yeah, first ballot, first year. And then he's like that 10th guy on the list or whatever in terms of votes. And he gets in. But I think that I just have a hard time saying first ballot for a player that was not the best player at their position consistently. I think those first ballot uh, types of entries are reserved for your Jerry Rice's. Your obviously Jerry Rice had a lot of longevity, but he was also well known as the guy for a number of years. Um, for guys in that type of realm where it's like we know that this guy was a superstar, like elite, top 5 at his position. Kind of what CD Lamb is right now, kind of what definitely what Justin Jefferson is right now, where they're just inarguably top tier guys. I don't think Mike Evans has had enough of that in his career for me to, at this moment, say first ballot. But yeah, another 2 years of 1,000 yards. I think he's a first ballot guy, probably. All right, I'll pass it off to the A&M guys.
Well, man, just to be in the league for 11 years and have 1,000 yards to have 1,000 yard seasons every single year, especially with the quarterback play that he's had. It's kind of amazing. Having the Jameis Winstons for the majority of your career, having Jameis Winston, and then having that brief period of Tom Brady, of the greatest quarterback of all time. But and then now going to Baker Mayfield, who a lot of people were written off as like, he's another first pick Heisman Trophy bust, and he just threw 40 touchdowns this year. So I see him as a first ballot. If he beats the record, people are going to look at the quarterbacks that he's gone through and how he's excelled with some of the worst quarterbacks, and also having a championship. I mean, I know sounds a little like the average fan. How many championships are you winning?
Oh yeah,
I
that's
mean,
true. That's another important part of this that I
he has a
definitely should
ring.
have mentioned.
He has a ring,
Yeah.
and you know he's been he's been very durable. I mean, I think the most he's missed in a single season, I think, was it 3 games, or
Uh,
I think he's missed.
I think it was 3 games. Yeah.
Like, so Mr. Reliable, like he'll play hurt. He's not your average wide receiver. 6'5" plus and can run. Uh, and just being that guy. Like, I mean, it was a good question that actually me and my father actually just had the day we saw him break it. We watched it live. Um, he asked me, "What does that make Johnny Manziel? Like, what does that do? Does that show that okay, Manziel won the Heisman? Cool, but he had every time he was throwing to Mike Evans. Not all the time. I mean, I can vouch that he made a lot of plays to a lot of different receivers, but Mike Evans, for when he came into the NFL, was going to be a star. And there's a lot of times people do count him out because he was on the Bucks, and during that time, the Bucks were not good until Tom Brady came. They had been a fringe playoff team, or hey, where Tampa Bay end up in the top 10 draft pick this year.
Yeah.
Tom Brady comes in, it's, oh snap, this team's good. Like, this team went and beat the defending Super Bowl champions and made it look pretty easy when they beat Kansas City in their home stadium too, first time ever. But yeah, just I see Mike Evans as the first ballot Hall of Famer. Like, just to do it from the minute you step foot in the NFL, 1,000 yards for a year over a decade, and now you're probably going to come back another year with a shot at history at beating the record held by the greatest receiver of all time.
Yeah, I mean it's skill wise, I think it's pretty easy that he's a Hall of Famer or first ballot Hall of Famer. I mean, bro's been consistent. He's done it in every capacity of the way you can, like you guys have mentioned. Um, I don't think he will be a first ballot Hall of Famer though. Um, just because, um, what was I going to say? I kind of lost my train. The people who could be in his class is the main thing that I'm thinking of. You could potentially get Travis Kelce in your class. You could potentially get Aaron Rodgers in your class. Potentially get Matt Stafford in your class. Potentially get Von Miller in the class. Zach Martin. Julio Jones hasn't retired yet technically. DeAndre Hopkins could somewhere be in there. Russell Wilson. Devontae could somehow end up being retiring at the same time.
That's a
Uh,
great point. I didn't
like
even
there's
think of that. He's gonna have a really killer class to go up against. That is a
exactly
great point.
like he I think like Devontae, if they're in the same class, I think you give the nod to Devontae over Mike Evans, mainly just because of the peak years. Um,
Yeah.
Same thing with Julio for sure. Hopkins, I think, is a little more of a toss-up. Um, I might lean Mike Evans over Hopkins just because of longevity, even though Hopkins might have been the better receiver for like maybe 2, 3 years. I don't think the peak was that long for Hopkins though, but and then Kelsey's gonna be over for sure. Rodgers for sure. Stafford, I think, will be a little bit of toss up. But there's just a ton of guys that could be in that conversation, I think. And so, and you could also think about in past, like the past great wide receiver, Terrell Owens wasn't first ballot. Michael Irvin wasn't first ballot. Chris Carter wasn't first ballot. Like, there's going to be just in terms of class and then maybe what the numbers look like and how the legacy is carried out after he retires, that can also alter the his like chances of first ballotness, you know? Like I think from the moment Eli Manning retired to now, I think his chances of being first ballot has probably increased. I don't think it will be, but I think it's increased a good bit just because of
Yeah.
the legacy that has stayed with people, which
Hmm.
is being the two Super Bowl wins against Brady and all this kind of stuff.
And then also on the Eli Manning
It,
fact, you can kind of also factor in how bad that team has been since he left.
that's
So
true,
that's
exactly.
also going to
Mhm.
come into value. So that's dude, man, Ayush, you are cooking right now, bro.
Let me cook,
This
bro.
dude's cooking. But I mean, that's going to come into factor here with Mike Evans is
Hmm.
that uh depending on how he leaves this team, he could kind of change that because based on this conversation, even with me disagreeing with it, I'm like it's right on the fence. Like this is a question. Like this is a very very controversial question here, and I've heard this asked before, and I've had these discussions before about Mike Evans, but he is someone that the residual of what he did on the field can really pay dividends here, and it does help the Johnny football thing that we brought up. It does help to say like, oh yeah, he played with Johnny football, who has been one of the most largest disappointments. Retrospectively speaking, another L on the loss column for the Browns quarterback sweepstakes. Uh, and he was at the center of that. He had to deal with that for a number of seasons, and he was a damn good football player at A&M. Comes to the pros, Jameis Winston, damn good football player, even with Jameis Winston, actually had his best year with Jameis Winston. And then he finally gets a guy. He finally gets Brady, and that was good. And then he gets Baker Mayfield, who's been pretty dang solid lately, and that was good. So I think those types of things can also factor in. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's it's going to be very, very close, I think. You also got to consider that there's going to be other non-first time Hall of Famer candidates that are going to be in that same pool. Like I don't know, like Luke Kuechly, I think is a finalist this year. I don't know if he's going to make it, or did they already? I know they released a finalist. Did they ever say the actual like
Is he
list?
eligible this year? I thought he had another year.
No, Luke Kuechly's
Is
eligible
he in?
for sure.
He
Yeah.
retired in 16, didn't he?
No,
Uh-huh.
Or was it later?
no, it had to be later. Luke? No, he did. I
It was
know
like,
for a fact he didn't retire in 2016. I
well,
don't
it's
think,
been
but
more than 5 years for sure,
It's
or
been a
five
while.
years.
That's for sure. It's been 5 years.
it
Because
was
this, I think this,
2019.
yeah, so
2019.
because this is his first year,
So this would be
and
his first year.
You
Yeah,
want to talk about a linebacker? My goodness.
yeah,
yeah.
I
That's
mean,
one of those
there's,
guys that he was the best single best player at his position, single best player collectively on his side of the field, and uh had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years of just utter dominance. Best player in the field every single time he stepped on. Well, for the most part, unless he was against guys of like Brady's caliber or something like that. But otherwise, yeah, Luke was he's the definition of a first ballot type of guy in my opinion.
yeah, I think it'll be first,
Showing
but
some on the field
there's just
too.
those type of, there's just those people that are like saying, oh, you didn't play long enough, blah blah blah, those type of things
Yeah,
that could,
and the
like,
championship, lack of championship.
yeah, exactly. So there's like those type of players that could somehow end up being in the same pool as Mike Evans if they somehow don't get in the years prior. And then you have a pool of those type of guys along with the potential like Rogers, Kelsey, uh, Zach Martin, all those type of players that could be first time entries as well. It's just I think that's going to be the biggest factor of why he won't be first ballot, and which is why I'm leaning like not first ballot just because of the people he's around. But I mean, he's for sure a Hall of Famer. Skill wise, I think he's first ballot, but um, I think it's more circumstantial at the end of the day, is how I'll wrap it up and why he probably won't be first ballot.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. There's uh, a lot of a lot more factors that go into someone like him than a couple of these other guys that are going to be in his
Yeah,
class. So,
for sure.
okay, so now we're gonna wrap it up, bring it into our last little segment here. Actually, we did have a lot of good conversation here. We were curious at the beginning of this episode if we were gonna even get to 45 minutes. So, uh, yeah, very thought provoking conversation. So, good job, guys, on that. Anyways, let me pull up the games that we have this week. Um, so we're gonna make our picks for the playoffs. Let's try. We're gonna try and not go. We're gonna try and be pretty quick on this. So I'm gonna start with from the first game to the last game, and we'll just make our picks, uh, and then we'll move on. Okay. So Pierce, Chargers, Texans. Who you got?
Chargers.
Chargers. All right. Ayush.
I'm leaning Chargers. It'll be close.
Yeah. This is gonna be a close one. I'm gonna go against the consensus on this just because I'm a Stroud believer, and I'm gonna say Texans. Very hesitantly. Okay, Steelers, Ravens. Pierce.
Give me Ravens. It's going to be another close one. Both games have been close this year, so I think the Ravens are going to win this one. Pretty game
All
winning
right,
field goal.
Ayush.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's gonna be Raven. I think this might be their toughest matchup for the Ravens is the Steelers because somehow Tomlin just kind of figures them out every time. But I think that last game that they had where they won like pretty convincingly, I think that kind of sets the tone for the Ravens going forward in terms of this matchup. So I'm going to take the Ravens.
Ravens. Yeah, easy peasy. Um. Okay. Broncos, Bills. Pierce.
Uh, this is going to be a good one. I think it's going to be an offensive chess match between Sean Payton and their head coach. Um, I'm leaning towards Broncos, dude. I think
Whoa.
Bo Nix is going to
Whoa.
surprise some people.
What an upset.
Yeah, I'm coming out of left field. I think Bo Nix. I think this past week is a confidence builder for Bo Nix to come into Buffalo and surprise some people. I could be wrong. Don't shoot the. I can be wrong, but
Yeah.
I want to see an upset. I just from the past seeing what happens with Bill with Josh Allen and performing under pressure. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Ayush, I can tell by your reaction that you're leaning a certain way. So who you
Yeah,
got?
I'm going Bills. I don't Broncos are to an experience. I think Sean Payton's cool and all. Bo Nix is cool and all. Not built for the lights yet. Josh Allen's probably not going to win MVP, and he's going to be mad about it, and he's going to be out for vengeance. Maybe they won't throw super well. Maybe James Cook will be the guy, but I think Bills will run away with this one.
I don't think it's gonna be a runaway. It's gonna be Bills, but I do think Bo is playing with so much heart right now, and then you have Sean Payton who is coaching his heart out. Uh, I think that they're gonna make it a good matchup. I do think ultimately it's gonna be a good 7 point difference, and it's gonna be a close game all the way through third. And Josh Allen and the Bills are gonna run away within the fourth. Okay, onto the NFC. Um, Packers, Eagles, Pierce.
Packers. I see
Whoa,
that
you got
offense.
Packers?
Yep.
Wow, so that's gonna make So two people are gonna be voting for the underdog here
I just I
because
it's an
Ayush
underdog
is gonna
statement,
pick Packers.
but the only thing I have to say is that yes, the Packers just lost Christian Watson for the year for the rest of the year, but I would not doubt a guy like Jordan Love with his receiving core that he has and Josh Jacobs running wild. I don't. Yes, the Eagles are, they have the offensive player of the year in Saquon, and they got the majority of their guys back, but it's still a question mark if Jalen Hurts is going to play or not. He's still in the concussion protocol. But yeah, give me Green Bay to upset at Lincoln Financial Field.
Bro knows ball. Yeah, I'm taking Green Bay. I think it's. I think these last two losses have really taught something for the Packers. I think um, the guys that need to step up know that they need to step out, either if it's the guys on the field or if it's the guys on the sideline. And I think it could spell good things for the Packers. I think the Packers are one of the. I know Saquon had like 3 touchdowns against us, but in terms of yardage and efficiency, I think the Packers are one of the best teams in terms of limiting. I mean, 3 touchdowns are 3 touchdowns, I know, but I think they did a good job of like limiting Saquon to the best that they can do. And now you got Edgerrin Cooper that's really getting going now. They still don't have Jair, which sucks. We'll see how that goes. But I think if you can limit the Eagles to try to rely on their passing game, it could really open the game up for the Packers in staying in this one.
Um, so worth noting on Jalen Fields, the Eagles
Hurts.
parted ways with Ian Book earlier today, which is their QB
4.
four. So he was their reserve quarterback while Jalen Hurts has been gone. So that can pretty likely signal that the Eagles are pretty confident that Jalen's going to play because
I think
most
Hurts
teams
is gonna
carry a
play.
third quarterback since the rule change that you have the extra reserve quarterback because there's no reason not to fill that spot for your reserve, especially in a playoff game.
I didn't realize Tanner McKee was so tall. He's like what,
He's like
6'6"?
6'6".
That's crazy.
Yeah, he's a big dude. By the way, just a little fun fact on him: he battled cancer as a kid, so the dude's overcome a
Really?
lot. Yeah, so now he
He
was
looks
dealing
solid
against
too.
Dallas last week, and
Yeah, he
he
looks
had a good
solid.
game this week too, if I recall. Anyways, what the heck, guys? Come on. I knew Ayush was gonna do this, but Pierce, come on, bro. I hold you to a higher standard.
Ball knower, bro. Ball knower.
Anyways,
That guy isn't allowed to hate the team that he
so
doesn't like.
first off, frick the Packers. I hate the Packers, but
Frick
also
the Eagles.
frick the Eagles, and also frick the
Frick the
49ers
Eagles.
while I'm at it because all three of those teams they all suck.
Yeah,
At
I can
least
rock with you on that one.
Ayush can agree with the 49ers one for sure. But I hate both of these teams, but the team I hate more is the Packers. So, but also the Eagles are just a better team by a large margin. I think that this is going to be I think this is going to be another one where it's going to be a good game. First half, I think is going to be really, really tight. I think we're going to be looking at this and we're like, man, the Packers might win this. And then I think Saquon's going to get loose and it's going to be a 10-point game when it's all said and done in the Eagles' favor. So, yes, that's I got the Eagles here. Okay, and then Commanders Bucks. I think this is going to be one of the more interesting ones this week. So, Pierce.
Give me the Tampa Bay Bucks. I think just the way they're rolling right now, dude. Bucky Irving's doing a good job. They got a two-headed guy and the guys in the backfield. Baker Mayfield is, I mean, if they had the same rules as last year, he's comeback player of the year, but he isn't. And yeah, Mike Evans, yes, they're pretty depleted at receiver, with Chris Godwin being out and only having Mike Evans as the only proven wide receiver on that crew. But I just feel like Tampa
McMillan's
Bay's
pretty nice.
Who?
McMillan's been pretty nice.
Yeah, he's been pretty nice. But I definitely see, Tampa making a play or making some noise and eliminating an NFC East Commanders.
I'm going to take Washington. I think this could honestly go either way. I know they played like week 1 and Tampa won that one. Um, but I think Daniel, I keep wanting to say Jaden McDaniels, but that he plays for the Timberwolves and not the Commanders. But Jaden Daniels has really, I mean, he's found his flow, obviously. Um, that entire team has found their flow. I think they can kind of counter what the Buccaneers do pretty well for the most part. Um, it will be, I mean, Baker's probably going to throw 40 plus times in this game, so it'll be pretty interesting to see how the secondary for the Commanders holds up. But I do think the Commanders can limit Bucky pretty solidly. Rashad White, I think, is going to be kind of inefficient just off feels for this game. I feel like this is going to be one of those 2.7 yards per carry games for Rashad White. Um, and then, yeah, I think offensively the Commanders can really steamroll the Tampa defense pretty soundly, especially if Daniels is on one. So I'm going to take the Commanders. It's going to be really close. I know last game that they played, I think Baker had like 3, 4 touchdowns, if I remember correctly, and it was like obviously Daniel's first start. So
Yeah,
um,
37-20 was the final of that game.
yeah, so I think it'll go.
But
I will say all three of these NFC matchups did play each other already this season. Eagles Packers played week one. Tampa Commanders played I think week one, and then Rams Vikings also played a little later in the season. And the Rams won that one off that safety face mask thing. So yeah, a lot
um
of narratives.
uh yeah. The most important narrative though is it's two of my college quarterbacks going at each other, so that's the most important narrative. I grew up a
Almost.
OU fan, went to school at LSU, so I get Baker. Baker's my boy though. That's my homeboy. He's my dude. Nuss is gonna be that way too with Tigers because uh, went to high school with him. Go Tigers, and go Marcus Marauders. Heck yeah, brother. Um,
Marcus Marauders, we are
uh,
the best.
yeah. So this is a tough one to pick, though. I know you were bringing up a use. You were bringing up how Rashad White can have like a 2.7 yards per attempt type of game. I don't think that's gonna be the case. But I mean, more. I think it's gonna be more reliant on Bucky as it has been in terms of the
Yeah,
Buccaneers running game. But the Commanders struggle to stop the run. They're not great against the run. It's Dan Quinn. That's Dan Quinn's thing. He doesn't know how to stop the run. He can stop the pass all day long.
Yep.
I think Bucky's gonna go for like a buck 50.
Hmm.
Uh, so, and then on top of that, the other factor that I bring in here is there's a number of guys on this Bucks team that have been here, done this. They've been in the playoffs. They've won. They've Some of these guys have won a Super Bowl. They know how to take care of business.
Tristan Wirfs.
And as recent as last year, they were in the divisional round, going toe to toe with the Detroit Lions. They almost were about to be in the uh, conference championship. They probably would have gotten destroyed by the Niners, but they would have been right there. I know this team. I think this team's a little bit worse than it was last year, especially because of the injuries, like Godwin in particular. That's a big one. I think Godwin would mean all the world in this type of game. But I'm gonna go. I just based off the experience level and then the advantage the Bucks, in my opinion, have in the running game. I think that this is going to be one of the best games of the year or of the playoff of this week. Man, this is going to be one of the best games of the wild card weekend. Uh, but I'm going to go Buccaneers here. So, um, uh, man, forget you. You said you did end up saying Washington, right?
yeah.
Okay, so all right. Vikings Rams, the last game of the weekend on Monday. Uh, Pierce, who you got?
Man, this one I haven't
This is another
watched.
tough one.
It's another tough one. Uh, I mean, Minnesota, you know, they got showed that there was levels to their division when Detroit, handled them on Sunday night. But I still feel like They have everything there. I think they have a good opportunity of just saying, okay, yeah, they got the best of us. They can come out, go to LA, and play really good football. Um, the Rams have been a mixed bag, apparently, for what I've seen. I haven't watched a lot of the LA Rams games uh, because some injuries here and there. But yeah, I'm gonna go with Minnesota just because that first game against the first half of Detroit was there until it wasn't. A bunch of fourth and goals that didn't go their way. But yeah, just I have Minnesota winning. I still think it's going to be close. I think this is the closest amount of games, like point spread, point total wise, this week in wild cards before we get to like the Detroits and those kind of games.
Ayush?
Yeah, this was interesting for sure because they already beat them once, the Rams did. So, and I know the Rams might be playing with a little something because Dan Campbell was like, "Oh, we'll see you in 2 weeks," to O'Connell, and the Rams are like, "Bro, we're still here, bro." So, I know they'll probably take that to heart a little bit. Um, one thing that I think the Vikings Lions game should have been closer, mainly because the Vikings didn't play their style of ball, and I think I heard this on I forgot where maybe Coward said this, I forgot who, but they're like someone said that the Vikings did not play their style of ball against the Lions because I think in all the years that O'Connell has been the head coach, they rarely go for fourth and whatevers. I think it was like 10, 15 times total in like all this season or something. And then you go for it twice or 3 times in the game against the Lions. So I think they get kind of back to their style of ball. I think they get back to their style. Um, just throughout the playoffs, they play a little more cal calmly and collectively, I guess is the best way to say it. So I think the Vikings are probably going to get their get back this game. It's going to be really close. I think this might come down to a real Will Reichard field goal, which is not always the best thing it can come down to, but um, I think it could be that close. But I think the Vikings will pull this off.
So I would have said if if the Vikings were able to pull out that win against the Lions, obviously they were very far off from that. I think they would have been a team that would have been like, yeah, they're going to make it to the conference championship at a bare minimum. I now, and this isn't all just because of this one game. I think that was just it was just me being on the edge of like, is this team really a contender? I've been really, I've been really having a hard time with this team and kind of deciding if they were really um, a true Super Bowl contender. And after that performance against the Lions and the biggest stage that they've had all season, I don't know if they have what it takes to take down a Sean McVay team that has actually been really, really dang good lately. They start off 1-4. Since then, they've been 9 and 9-3 down the stretch, with one of those being a loss against Seattle, where they were sitting all their backups and only lost by 5 points. Um, I think that McVay is going to put on a clinic in this game, and I'm honestly kind of curious if this is going to be a blowout in the Rams' favor. I feel like it very well could be a blowout in the Rams' favor because of a Sean McVay type of clinic. I really think that he could take him to school here. Um, so yeah, I'm gonna roll with the Rams here. I think that McVay is gonna uh, cook. I think he's going to cook. Okay, so let's do a quick recap here on our game picks, and then we're going to head out of here because we are way over our limit here. So this is going to be a long episode. I guess we don't have
Yeah.
any limits. We make up our own rules. So, uh,
Yeah.
Yeah, I think this is gonna be one of our longest episodes ever. Anyways, Chargers, Texans, Pierce, Ayush, both of y'all picked Chargers. I picked Texans very hesitantly. The only sweep that we had was Ravens over Steelers. All of us picked Ravens. Broncos, Bills. Pierce, you picked Broncos. Me and Ayush picked Bills. That's crazy to me. I can't
I
believe
know.
that.
I'm sorry.
That's the biggest like
Stretch.
I don't know. Yeah, that was the most unforeseen answer there. Packers, Eagles. This is another one that two of y'all leaning with the Packers on the underdog. Very surprising. I guess we did get a lot of diversity in these picks, though. That's good. We didn't get a bunch of like everyone picking the team that everyone expects to win. So both of y'all picked Packers. I picked Eagles. Ayush, you picked Commanders. Pierce and I picked Tampa in the Tampa versus DC game. Vikings, Rams. I picked Rams. Both of y'all picked Vikings. So yeah, we got a good mixed bag there in terms of who we picked. So yeah, that's gonna pretty much wrap it up for us. We will hopefully be back. Hopefully be back. What's next week? Yeah. Hopefully we'll be back next week. Talk some more playoffs. I don't know what we're going to talk about next week, but I know the week following we have planned a way too early mock draft. Right before the Senior Bowl. I think we're going to do it right before the conference championship games, which is right before the Senior Bowl. And that'll be pretty fun. I'm excited about that one. I think that's going to be a lot of good conversation there. We'll probably do like on the live stream, we'll probably just like mirror my screen and we'll just have like the PFF mock draft simulator. We'll make our picks, talk about it, and all that. But that'll be a fun episode. Anyways, yeah, so that'll pretty much put a bow on this episode. We will see you guys next week. Yeah, and thanks again, Ayush and Pierce. Another good episode, and yeah, we'll see you guys next week. Heck yeah, brother. That was the smoothest production